Getting all the levels set up.
Sweet.
Does anybody else want their foreskin back?
Whoa.
Cool, Adrian.
Right.
Adrian's coming in hot.
Do you care to explain that?
Oh, well, it spins off of our previous discussion about circumcision.
Adrian was saying that he just listened to a podcast about foreskin and explaining the origins of circumcision and stuff like that. And he was really angry and wants his foreskin back.
Yeah.
Where do you get it back from?
I feel like I was cheated. Well, I mean,
like Goodwill or Salvation Army. Do you think it's just like on one of the shelves?
You know, I saw an episode about this. Like on the Learning Channel, they go on a raft overseas. There's actually a big like town dump in Indonesia, I think, where all the foreskins are.
Oh,
which is a big pile of foreskin.
It's really fucked up, and they need to be recycled.
Wait, I think I saw that. Was that where they go over the waterfall, and it's actually just a waterfall of cum?
Oh, you have to.
Is this Fern Gully? What are we talking about?
Descend from the cum waterfall to get to the pile of
foreskins. Yeah.
Is this the rough draft
That's
of Avatar? Is that what we're doing here?
I love Fern Gullies. Fern Gully singular. By the way, I love that movie. It was such a good movie.
Not to be confused with plural Fern Gullies.
I said, and I don't know why. I love that movie. Oh man, it was such a good movie.
I'm sorry though, but we didn't. We have to swoop on back for a little bit more about your longing for dick skin.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have any say in the matter.
No,
it was, back in the 80s. It was like a normal thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, yeah.
Are you locating? Was that what you just said back in the 80s? Was that like a movie montage moment where like 80s cars and fashion go by?
Totally.
As you reminisce on your dick skin getting cut off?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't happening every part of the last 100 years.
In my bassinet as some doctor lops my foreskin off.
Oh man, back in the 80s, we were crazy. We were circumcising people. It was nuts.
Welcome to
wild.
the danger zone.
So are you mad at your parents? Have you brought this up with your parents at all?
I can't be angry at my parents because they were just following the societal norm at the time.
Sure. Yep.
Now there's more attention on it. So, more parents have like a different perspective on it. My brother didn't circumcise my nephew. My new nephew is going to be born pretty soon this month. He's not going to be circumcised. So,
Adrian's super jealous. Super jealous.
Do you want to go on record saying you're jealous of your nephew's dick skin?
I am not jealous of my nephew's dick skin. No.
No, but that's basically
for the record.
But I am happy though that my brother and his wife decided not to do it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me correct myself. Adrian's going on record celebrating his nephew's dick skin. Is that a safe thing to leave in the pod?
I mean, we have brisks to celebrate the lack of dick skin. So sure, like let's have a right. That's,
I like
that's
where we're going.
That's a fucking party.
Okay,
like,
what do we name
a brisk is a party?
What do we name the celebration first of keeping your intact penis?
Monday? I don't.
I looked to Scott like he would know.
Scott, what would you call it?
I don't know. I'm in the same boat as Adrian, where like I'm circumcised, but I'm not mad at my parents for it. But at the same time, when we were having a kid, there was like a bunch of messaging, and people were like, "Hey, if it's a boy, don't circumcise." And we have a daughter, so it wasn't an issue. But yeah, I was convinced. I was like, "Yeah, that's not." They made a great point where they're like, "This is not needed. It's just done because it's done." And that's a great way to get me onto your side, is to identify that we're just doing something because that's the way we've always done it. Because I can't stand that reasoning. So yeah, but I'm in the same boat where I'm like, change it going forward. Why not?
Yeah.
Amen.
Hot topics here.
Yeah.
Oh,
and other things that cis men are sad about.
I don't know, Ari, are you bummed about your foreskin?
No.
Okay.
I just put a couple of Post-it notes around it, and it's kind of the same thing.
Like the yellow ones, or do you get any? They like the yellow ones, or do you put?
Oh no, I get like peach colored ones so that they're a little closer to
very similar
skin.
Do you like write little notes on them just for like reminders?
I owe you one dick skin. Honestly, just use a sock, y'all. It's fine.
They do actually have contraptions that will stretch your foreskin out, but
Yes.
you will
Like
never get the sensitivity that you would have had with actual foreskin.
Like a tanner would stretch out a hide.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
Wow.
sorry. That sounds
Yeah.
like some Silence of the Lambs shit
You
right
don't-
there. I mean, I don't want to be inclusive,
that
but
was very Silence of the Lambs.
I have not.
let's do that scene. So I just called you on the phone and we're having
Yeah.
casual conversation, Adrian,
Yeah.
and you are. So I'm saying, hey, Adrian, what are you doing today?
Oh, I'm stretching out my foreskin.
and I just happened to come over with like some vegan snacks that I got given. I was like, "Hey, Adrian, you want some of these?" Then he answers the door with his like dick skin stretcher.
Yeah,
on.
it's
And go ahead with that scene.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah. No, don't worry. I mean, just ignore it. It hangs between my legs. It stretches out my foreskin. I take it off at night and put it back on in the morning.
Is that why you're wearing such loose sweatpants, Adrian? Is it?
It's why I'm not wearing any pants.
Yeah. That's
And then
so that's the contraption.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It looks like sweatpants,
Got
but
it.
it's actually the contraption.
well, then
Understood.
I show up with my two friends from Boston, and they're like, "What are you stretching your foreskin back out?"
Jesus.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not better than me.
Yeah.
So you got an extended dick skin. You're not better than me.
Drinking some coffee.
Caffey.
Stretching on
Caffey.
some coffee.
Yeah.
Get some coffee. Stretching on my dick skin.
Listen, I love improv, but normally, but some people say it goes a little bit crazy.
I wonder if our listeners could potentially have a drinking.
Our
Our 1.25 listeners could have a drinking game so that every time we say dick skin, they take a sip.
Oh, they're dead by the end of this episode.
Dick skin. Dick skin. I can't even say it.
Diskin.
Who knew?
Diskin.
It's actually a tongue teaser. Scott's taking a break, and I'm feeling very abandoned.
Oh, Ari, we're here with you.
That's true. I'm fine.
Scott said he kept having stuff in his voice. I just want to know what that means.
Are you reiterating it so that I can cut it out twice?
Lauren made a drink, so it's probably just cum.
I mean, it does look like a glass of cum that you're drinking right now.
Again.
To be fair, I have not seen cum in a very long time in person. So
Much less a glass.
That's the title
full
of the
it.
episode. I have not seen cum in a very long
Seen
time.
cum in person?
In fairness, maybe
I
like a
don't
Joan
think
Crawford.
I've ever actually seen like real
Yeah, let's dig
cum
in.
in person.
Let's dig in.
Maybe
here.
with a Joan Crawford voice.
I haven't.
I haven't seen cum in person before.
in person, darling.
I was trying.
Never.
I was gonna.
Cum in
I was gonna
person?
try and do a mid-Atlantic accent. I
Never.
haven't seen any cum in person. No, that's a Southern accent.
That's mid-Atlantic.
I don't know what's
Southern Belle.
What's the? How do you do the Mid-Atlantic accent?
Like an Audrey Hepburn.
I can't. Yeah,
thing.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'd have to practice it.
It's like vaguely British,
that's-
but not enough to be
Oh.
like a British imitation. But definitely, you've got some more stank on some of your words than just a normal American.
Are we just talking about like a New England accent?
No,
in
there's
the
it's the
50s?
Mid-Atlantic. So there's this the Mid-Atlantic accent was the accent that was in like the 40s and 50s movies that all the women did. Even the men did it a little bit.
Darling, is there cum in your throat?
No, that's British. But yeah.
That was
no, there
Ari.
isn't. There isn't cum in my throat. Just to answer your question. In case you were wondering.
All questions
Oh.
must be answered once asked.
Yes. Mid-Atlantic accent. It's kind of we're hey, Donnie, let's go to the park. You know, this is what it's hey, we're going to go down to Central Park and have a nice cocktail with a picnic. That's the kind of mid-Atlantic accent, you know? Hey, sweetie.
How do you like this improv,
Hey,
Ari?
Bob.
I need like 30 minutes more of it. It's really,
I was trying
really
to dig down real
satisfying.
deep.
I do
Hey,
think
Bob, can you get that pen for me? I need to make some notes because I'm a secretary.
I do think it would be fun
Yeah.
to do a podcast where we all have to stay in an accent that's not our normal one for the entire time.
Because we'll go off the rails.
Yeah,
constantly.
pretty quickly.
So one time I went to a party in Boston. I was living out there, and it was with a friend from grad school, and we were talking on the walk over, and I don't know how it came up. I believe she dared me to do a British accent the whole time we were at the party because nobody knew me there, and she had just met this guy. And so it was basically a place where nobody knew either of us. And so I did a British accent for, it must have been like 4 or 5 hours.
Whoa.
It was fantastic.
What kind of British accent did you do?
I mean, I'm sure it was just like a regular, like London style accent.
It's me, Jason Statham.
That is not a lie.
Did people ask you questions like about living in London or growing up in London?
Yeah, I think I just didn't answer them. I was like super vague about everything. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I was like a chimney sweep as a teenager, and then, you know.
And then
Just
there
like
was,
everybody.
and there were some dancing penguins or something at some point.
I don't know, whatever.
You know,
Like, we had a nanny.
what most British people do, you know.
Everybody in a top
I went to
hat.
Hogwarts, and then it was done.
No, several actual British people have said, "Oh, that's a pretty good accent." All right, it's more subtle. I do some more subtle British accent.
I do. I think also when you do a more muted one,
Yeah,
and it's just less hurtful to them, they're very pleased.
yeah, probably.
I remember being over there once, and I was hooking up with some random dude, and he was like, "Go ahead, do a British accent. I want to hear it." And he handed me a children's book, and I did a very mild one because I knew yeah, you don't want to overextend. And his response was, "Oh, that was nice. It was kind of sweet."
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably why. I mean, I'm not doing the accent like, you know, hey, governor, how you doing?
Hi, governor.
The
Or-
old
That was
That's
really
good.
good. Are you from
Dick
from
Van
England?
Dyke.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I'm being more I'm being more reserved this episode.
Oh.
That does, by the way, that trick works really well in reverse as well. When I was living in Japan, we would hang out in groups of people from lots of different places. Having non-Americans do American accents, also excellent every time.
Do they
almost.
overpronounce every single word?
I mean, to varying degrees. Everyone
Yeah.
can do it differently. Some people can do pretty well, and you're like, oh, right. Yeah, that's half of our actors in Hollywood. And then some people are, doing the like, hello, I'm from the United States. It's very odd.
That's
But
awesome.
I love it. Yeah.
I like the one Amy Poehler did. Oh yeah, during the Golden Globes, where she was like, "I like when they talk like this."
I did not see that.
It's charming. Those are good. Those are good routines.
Yeah.
The Tina Fey Poehler
Oh my God, they're
Golden Globe
fantastic.
routines.
Yeah.
I aspire to be them in every respect of the word.
And I'm drunk.
Are you?
I am drunk.
That's awesome. It's actually Ari's birthday in how many minutes? In 119 minutes.
Excellent.
Yes.
And you guys cheered me up when I got to sit down with y'all.
Yeah.
I've been really cooped up with this current surge of BA5's bitch ass COVID free for all in everyone's nose and trachea. And so I've just really needed to see people and get some love. And I was afraid that I had hurt people, and I needed every now and then, I think, just as like a complete people pleaser, I have to check in with people and ask them, is there something in the piggy bank
Mhm.
that I did that really hurt you? And it is really nice. I don't think there's any part of somebody that comes up in therapeutic work that ever should just go away or ever will just go away. And sometimes it's just really nice to get some loving affirmation about like, hey, I know you worry a lot about caring about people, you haven't actually like shit the bed recently.
Was there something that happened that made you think you might have upset us, or was it just your brain being how brains are sometimes?
It was
being like
mostly my brain. No, so I didn't even tell you yet, Adrian, the one that I said that you would laugh at, which is I was really hurt by that moment that has been cut out of a previous podcast, in which I said I'm not really impressed by lasagna.
I mean,
this shit is funny. And then
lasagna is not that impressive.
And then why is it when I said that? I'm just kidding. Why is it when I said that? No, but then I just sensed that the energy was really silly, and like there was like this tense energy around lasagna, and so to be goofy and irreverent, I said, "Well, and fuck Italy," and then
Jesus,
and then Adrian said, "Ouch, I'm Italian," and I will tell you, as stupid as this is, I felt really bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
I did.
Because you didn't actually mean fuck Italy. You were just
you were following down.
You were following that bit down a path.
We've already done childhood trauma. Let's do some more, because childhood trauma is also hugely topical with dick jackets getting cut off of children.
Yes.
It's
also the mainstay of this podcast.
Let's do another one. So I one of my earliest memories as a very silly person is being invited to make a Valentine in grade school. And it's perfect for somebody to do something irreverent, because you're in a state mandate. You're about to make a state mandated Valentine in a classroom. You know what I mean? Like your teacher is like, and now make a Valentine. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll just make a mean Valentine, because of course that's how my brain works.
Yeah, you're like, bitch, you gonna make me make a Valentine?
Exactly. So I wrote, roses are red, violets are blue. Shory's a goof, and so are you.
Aw, that's cute.
So I named my brother, but the Valentine was to my father, and so it's just this rude little Valentine. And they opened it when I got home, and they were sort of like, yeah, great, Ari, thanks for this, like, kind of basically like mean Valentine. Thanks a lot. And I was really hurt. And I'll never forget it.
It was the first time you bombed.
Exactly right. Did not think of it in those terms, and that's 100% accurate. It's the
original bomb.
Went into the bathroom and cried.
Aww.
Because my original intention of just flouting Valentine's Day was transformed into me being offensive. It wasn't my intention. And of course, every comedian has to have that moment where they are being irreverent and someone's like, no, the main thing I took from that was that you're hurtful.
Yeah.
Horrible feeling. And yeah, I did. I went into the bathroom and cried. And they were like, why do we have to comfort you when you wrote this mean Valentine? But of course, the truth is I didn't write it to be mean.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to be disrespected. So.
All right. play along with me, Ari. Right. Knock, knock.
No, are we doing,
knock.
we're not, okay. We're doing it.
Ari, can you open up the bathroom door?
What do you want? No.
Ari, please open up the bathroom door. I just want to come in there and give you a big hug. You have two other good friends here that also want to give you a hug.
I'm sorry I made a mean Valentine. I didn't mean to hurt anybody.
Your father and I were very hurt.
Actually, Ari,
that's not helpful.
Mom,
your mom was a little bit hurt, but
Mom, are you from Boston?
It's me, your friend from Boston.
Ari, I thought it was endearing. Yeah, I'm sorry. We didn't mean to make you feel bad about it.
Lauren can't do this.
We
knew that.
You know what's happening
Lauren's
right
being
now?
invited. Yeah, Lauren's being invited into a therapeutic moment, and instead she's crashing through the wall like the Kool-Aid man.
No. We switched up our seating. We switched up where we're seating, and right now you are in you are getting full Adrian, just like straight across.
That's true.
Normally he's next to you and you're only getting like peripheral Adrian, but now you've got the full experience. That's what's happening right now. I think.
And he stood up for dick skins and he's feeling empowered.
That's right.
Oh, and he's getting laid.
That's it.
That's the true. I guessed that on a different episode to do with Lauren's good mood, and now it's this.
Yeah.
Now it's happening.
I'm also getting laid. Cheers to getting laid.
Cheers to getting laid.
Here's to getting laid.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciated that good cop, bad cop therapy. That was really helpful.
We got you.
Having one supportive person and one gate crashing mean person. That's what I often do in therapy with my clients.
You're welcome.
I turn the tables on them when they're feeling their most.
I knew
comfortable.
exactly what you needed.
Well,
So
I hope
okay,
you
so
receive that warm hug from your mom and I.
That's bad. I mean, you don't want to be in any role play where you're doing something therapeutic. You don't want to be my parents.
Oh,
It's just not going to sail.
well, I mean, I didn't intend to be your parent. I just intended to be us showing up
a parent
in your memory.
Oh, okay.
I got that.
Yeah.
I was
the three of us.
I was pretending to be his mother from
Oh.
Long Island.
No,
From Long Island.
You never call.
you never call.
You know what? I'm glad me and your father took your dick skin.
You don't need any more empowering.
I don't know. Was there a reason I was telling
We took
this
a
story?
wonderful. We took a great vacation to that dump in where was it?
I think you were
turned
talking
it
about a
into
dramatic
Indonesia,
moment.
where all the
we,
dick
we turned
skins
it into
are.
a second honeymoon. It was wonderful.
Let's go.
We
I can't
found-
afford the Cayman Islands. Let's go see that big pile of dick skins in Indonesia.
We actually found yours and then we burned it along with your brother.
We double circumcised you by burning your original dick skin that we found in Indonesia. Listen, I'm just saying, improv, I like it. Sometimes it does go left. I don't understand. Sometimes I don't understand.
I don't remember why you started talking about it
Because I
either.
was self-conscious about doing humor on
Right.
this pod. Very seriously was sweating
Oh.
the idea of having been an asshole for the last 2 weeks, and I was remembering the original shitty memory of having bombed as a
Look,
comedian.
Ari, you've never had my lasagna, so I mean, you know,
I was just
Your
like,
vegan lasagna?
yeah.
Mm.
You never had my Puerto Rican lasagna either.
I did have that.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
wait, no,
had
you
it.
have.
Yeah, we
I
had
did.
your
Never
Puerto
mind.
Rican lasagna.
Yeah, but you've never had my Italian lasagna.
I have not
So,
had your Italian
there's that.
lasagna. I would love some of your Italian lasagna without vegan cheese.
Okay.
That would
I
be
got you.
wonderful.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
take care of you, Lauren.
Sweet.
and the truth is, Ari hates Italy. I had a piece of pizza the other day, and he just slapped it out of my hand onto the ground. He said, "Take that."
He said, "Take a that."
Yeah, it was really,
Oh,
really.
God. Yeah, I also do really bad Italian accent while I'm doing the hatefulness.
And then he did like a.
I'm glad most of you got a COVID early.
I played hours of Mario. I'm pretty sure I can do a great Italian accent.
Why you fucking with my country? Why you doing that? Or why you don't like my oregano?
I can relax into this. I do like your Italian. I do like your Mario character.
We didn't know Mario and Luigi are like severe Italian nationalists who are like full of national pride.
Finally, ASMR that I can get
They
into.
also have very high voices. Like if you listen to a like,
They do.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's like, it's a me.
It's a me, a Mario.
It's me, Luigi.
Oh, fuck a Luigi.
No.
Fuck you. Get in the background. You don't need, no,
No.
you are the green, tall, creepy one.
You never eat my meatballs.
I don't
That's
think
because your meatballs taste like crap.
I think Nintendo just feels like a high-pitched voice sort of company. Like if any Nintendo character was like, "Hey, what's up?" Like it
Yeah.
would. I can't imagine that ever fitting in with anything they've designed.
Scott,
Yes,
you will jump to the defense of Japan.
at any chance.
Yes.
Yes. Can
That's
I do it
okay.
again? Is there anything else?
Yeah.
Anyone want to say something about?
I don't know. It's just kind of
mean-
hard to use chopsticks. Scott,
You want to talk about?
what do you think?
You want to talk about matcha? I will actually let that one go. I don't care for
Oh,
matcha.
I love matcha. Don't fuck with matcha.
Yeah.
Matcha's
That
delicious.
was dope.
Yeah. But I will fuck with the Japanese mountain yam. Have you ever had that?
No.
Oh my god! That speaking of things that look like cum, whoo!
That look like
It
cum?
yeah, like
The
so,
yam itself looks
so
like
it's a
cum.
white yam, And for all of our listeners, please go YouTube Japanese mountain yam or Japanese mountain potato. So you grate it, and it looks like Are you talking about? It looks like snot loogies.
Daikon?
Nope, I'm not talking about daikon. I'm talking about Japanese mountain yam. It's the thing that they grate that they put into tamago to give it a silky texture, the egg a silky texture for the sushi. But they eat it by itself. You grate it, and it becomes essentially loogies, and it tastes like nothing, and it looks like phlegm or cum, and they put it on top of rice, and then they just eat it that way, and I don't understand it.
What?
Okay, I feel better about canceling Italy because I can see now from just casual conversation how much international hatred comes up unintentionally.
I love like I would say I love like 99.5% of Japanese food. Japanese mountain yam. It's so bad.
There's always something, right? There's always something that you find where you're just like, that's not my thing.
Well, and I was at my father's house, who lives in Japan, and he like made this for me, and I watched him make it, and I was like, you were gonna make me eat that? And he's like, just try it. And I was like, no. And then in the back of my brain, it was him from when I was a tiny child being like, try everything at least once. And I was like, I'll try it. And then I almost immediately vomited.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you came to it with an open mind. So that's
I cursed so much as a kid that they tried to do Dr. Spock shit on me where they would give me a cursing minute to try to endorse me to curse, and I would lose interest in cursing. And so that we would like drive to a 7-Eleven, and in the back of the pickup truck, before we went into the 7-Eleven, my dad would be like, okay, take a cursing minute. And I would just be in the back of the truck like dancing. And I'd be like, fuck, shit, dick, pussy, vagina, asshole, pussy, fuck, shit. And then he'd be like, okay, the minute's over. And I'd be like, fuck yeah, it is. Because I would not, I'd be like, you're not doing psychology on me.
No.
That's not happening.
That's like your parents trying to get you to stop smoking by giving you an entire pack of cigarettes so you have to smoke in 1 hour. And you're like, you just made me more addicted. I don't know how you thought that this would work.
Well, I'm like, did your dad hate money? Like, why wouldn't he film that? That seems like amazing thing.
Before YouTube.
That is good enough to launch YouTube.
Yeah.
Me in the back of a truck dancing and cursing is solid gold. Oh, I would have made it so good. Everyone would have been like, gay people should get married if they saw that clip. They would have been like, I love gay people. They're fine.
Yeah.
They should be given children. Yeah. I cursed like crazy as a kid.
All right, back to our regular schedule.
I'm a hypocrite.
I was going to talk about how when I was a little kid, I get pissed at my parents and I'd go hide under my bed and I'd do the Yosemite Sam thing where I go, and I would do that. And my parents thought that I was swearing, and so that I would get punished even more. And I was like, no, I was purposefully not swearing. I was doing the Yosemite Sam thing. And they were like, and they said something akin to, well, he's pantomiming swearing.
That's so vindictive.
It was so vindictive. Yeah.
The mental gymnastics that parents will go through to punish their kids is ridiculous.
I also got spanked, which I can't believe that I got spanked. Did you get spanked? Did anyone else here get spanked?
I got spanked.
Yeah, I got hella spanked.
Okay. Yeah, in fairness, I have to ask the qualifying question. What does it mean? Because I got spanked like twice and it was no biggie.
Wait, Adrian, you got...
So Adrian's...
whipped.
I'm hearing Adrian got really...
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I got spanked like with a hand, but I would get spanked often. Yeah.
Hand spanked.
But how often, Lauren? Like what's the gist of it?
Maybe like once a week.
That's a lot of spanking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
I got spanked twice in 18 years. So, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like they were angry at me. It was like, we're spanking you as punishment. This is your punishment. And it wasn't as like monotone as that, but it wasn't like there was no screaming involved. It was, you did something wrong, now you get the punishment. Like they were supposed to spank me.
Well, it was like,
I'm sorry, once a week is a lot.
It is a lot.
It was like, this is what our parents did to us. This is what we're going to do to you.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I was also like little ADHD asshole bouncing off of walls, you know?
I mean, basically being a kid.
I don't know if I actually
still,
have ADHD.
that's not...
That's like being what you're supposed to be, which is a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, Adrian can come out
I don't
really
know if
strong.
I don't know if it was once a week. Maybe it was once a month, but it was a lot. It
Yeah.
was enough that I remember it happening often enough.
Well, I'm like the same way Adrian's anti-circumcision. I am as well, but I'm also like I'm strongly anti-spanking. Like,
oh, of course,
it makes no sense to hit a kid.
Same.
no corporeal punishment against a
it's
kid is so
Scott,
bad.
picturing you spanking a child, like you would need so much therapy and comforting after you did it.
No,
Like,
I wouldn't. Yeah.
You would come over to my house crying if you
I'm a
had just
talking guy anyway. I want to talk.
Yeah.
Your punishment is going to be you're going to have to talk to me about a longer time than you want to, or whatever.
I feel like you would buy your child so many cakes and presents for like the next 5 years if you accidentally got so worked up that you spanked your child.
Oh my gosh, it was definitely a thing that I was spanked as a kid at times or whatever, because I was misbehaving. But it was definitely not the best course of action ever. But it was just the normal thing. So
yeah, the one thing that always stood out to me is that they continued to try to correct the action with this strategy, but yet we continued to do things over and over and over again. Just like, well, yeah.
You're saying like the family didn't learn anything.
Well, I wasn't learning anything by being hit.
Mhm.
Like that. Oh, that's the result. I'm not understanding what it is that I did wrong, or being explained like what the consequences of what I did wrong, or like, what I mean?
I will admit, like part of my reaction, first of all, I just want to say, I'm sorry. I'm sure that happened so long ago that you don't even really want an apology, but I'm sorry that happened. That sounds shitty.
Thank you.
I also, I still have the same feeling about spanking that I did as a kid, which is it's perverted. I still think it's just so perversely intimate as a behavior that it's crazy. Like it just strikes me, the naked ass, the hand, but also just violence, I think is very intimate and sensual.
Yeah.
And I think it is crazy for people to be like, oh, you did something wrong. Let's like put hands on each other. There's just something about that I think people are not being honest about how close they wish that they were with their families and how they're enacting it in such a perverse way. It's almost like dancing and getting drunk in the dark the way people do in clubs. Like, oh, I could never dance sober. Then I would admit that I love people or I want to cut loose. And it's
also interesting that spanking a child is you don't have to see their face. Like the adult doesn't have to see the child's face as they're doing it. So it's almost disconnected from their child. You can almost disconnect it from it being your child. It could be anyone because you don't have to see their face.
Also, what is it teaching a child like that to correct an action or to, if somebody does something that you don't like, you resolve it by physical violence?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a tweet that goes around every so often that I'll see, and it's the simple putting it together where they're like, oh, does your child understand reason? Yes. Then reason with your child. Are they not old enough to understand reason? No. Well, then they're not going to understand the reason that you're spanking them. Like it's that simple. If they're able to understand reason, then you talk with them. And if they're not, then hitting them is absolutely not the right thing in that situation.
Yeah.
I think it's also just chaos in the sense that like if a parent doesn't want to reason with themselves about why the family's dysfunctional, it's just maybe martial law will work.
I mean, it's lazy. I feel like it's lazy parenting.
Yes.
Super
Totally.
lazy parenting.
Yep.
And also when you hit your child, the child then goes and hides away. So it's a way of just getting them out of your face, right? Like it's lazy in that sense as well. It's lazy in the sense that you don't actually have to teach your child anything. And it's lazy in the sense that once you spank the child's going to go hide from you for a while. So now you don't even have to deal with them.
I think it does mirror a different time when kids, were like seen and not heard also in that regard. Like disappearing was sort of their job. That thing,
totally.
like you were struck more because you have an obligation to disappear and not make a nuisance of yourself. Which I guess there are some aspects of that are healthy. I mean, I remember being over in Nicaragua and seeing a bunch of kids running around and they were just traveling together in a giant ball. And there wasn't any concern for like having to have like a helicopter parent for every child.
Right.
Right.
Anyway, Anyway, I was hit and I deserved it. I'll say that in defense.
Oh, no.
Can we call this episode in defense of spanking? No, but am I canceled yet? I spit on my dad's head as he was walking down the stairs once, and he was like, "You're going to get a spanking for that." And I was like, "Yeah, that's fair."
That was one of your two?
Right.
That was one of your two?
Yep.
And how old were you, do you think?
That's a good question. I really don't remember. Maybe like 11?
16.
That's so gross. I'm so grossed out by spanking. Yeah. No, I was not 16. I had already run away from home.
I feel like that's an appropriate response to spanking, is to be grossed out by it.
I really thought it was disgusting. I can't help
yeah,
it. I'm sure
absolutely.
somebody's going to say like Ari's projecting, but like I just thought it's so gross.
Even 11 seems like I feel like my last spankings happened probably before that age. I don't know.
I could have been 9, but I mean, I wasn't too little.
I mean, my last spankings happened when I was still living at the house with my mom and dad. Once I moved out of there, I didn't get spanked anymore.
Sure.
My grandmother didn't spank me. She didn't do any type of physical stuff. That was really nice.
How old were you when you moved into your grandma's house?
9.
Okay.
Yeah. My grandfather was a giant fucking asshole. He threatened to hit us all the time, but I knew well enough to throw it back in his face. It would be like, that's illegal. You'll go to jail. So that was my response usually.
What an ABC Family movie.
He would because I mean, like, I grew up hearing that he would, like, you know, he hit my mom and my aunt, and he was a giant asshole, and I grew up hearing all about it. So I was on like the defense from minute 1 when I moved in there. I had all of the little witty quips to come back at him. But yeah, basically I would just throw it back in his face and be like, "You'll go to jail. Go ahead, hit me."
Still though, for a kid to an adult, that's moxie. That's pretty ballsy.
I didn't respect him at all, so
Yeah. I mean, you're not telling us any reasons why you should have, because
no,
sounds
there
like
was
he was
no
terrible.
reason to respect him.
Right.
He also had so my sister and I both lived at my grandma's house, and they had 2 extra bedrooms. So my grandma and my grandfather had their big bedroom, and there were 2 bedrooms. And my sister and I had to share a bedroom from the age of 12 to 17 for me, and she was between 5 and like 9 or 10, and we had to share a bedroom and share a bed for those years.
Wow.
Because my grandfather refused to move his giant piles of Wall Street Journal and Barron's magazines and various different types of magazines and like collection of Playboys from the 70s out of that room, until at some point my grandma said, "You're moving it out of the room. Lauren needs her own room. Get it the fuck out or I'm throwing it away." And then he finally did. I did love that room because I would go hide in that room, and every once in a while, he had a side business that I don't know if he actually sold drugs, but in my brain he sold drugs. I don't think he actually did, but he did sell bags of candy that he would get from Costco, and he would put them into individual bags, and he sold cigarettes and cheese, that he would get large quantities of cheese and cut it into small pieces and individually wrap them, and like snacks and beef jerky to like car automotive shops in the area in the South Bay. It was very like gangster. It was so weird. He would go around with his like 1970s Cadillac like boat of a car and just open up the trunk, and there'd just be a bunch of like cigarettes. He had like a bodega in the back of his Cadillac that he would go and sell. It was so weird.
And this is the former scientist engineer.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, I was like, this is the guy who worked for Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, and made like nuclear weapons and shit. Yeah. So he also he was also a stockbroker. Yeah, it was so weird. But he would sell all this stuff for cash, and he would keep the cash in envelopes in a safe that wasn't actually closed in this room. And I would go in there and I would look at the money over and over again. And at some point when I was 14, I went in and stole a couple of envelopes and the envelopes had $1,000 each in them.
Whoa.
Yeah. And it wasn't until I stole only $300 out of one of the envelopes that he noticed, because it wasn't $1,000.
Whoa. And
Yeah.
he noticed, and then
And he noticed, and then I
it?
copped to the $300, but I didn't cop to the other envelopes. But yeah,
Wow.
I figured he owed me.
What does
'Cause that
teenage
was my
what does
room.
teenage Lauren do with $2,000 like $3?
Oh my God, I went to the mall and bought all of my friends all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
Yes. Like I bought all
Yes.
of my friends in high school. Yeah.
That
so
sounds
dope.
scary.
You're like, sugar mama is here. It is time to go shopping.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
The shopping part was dope.
Oh yeah,
The-
no, that was great. Yeah, I bought myself a really sweet Adidas jacket. It was navy blue and it had neon green stripes down the side. I thought it was the shit. And then I bought my good friend a disco mixed CD, which was like $30 at the time. I bought
Ooh.
myself a Walkman. I bought everybody food from the food court. You know, we all got Panda Express.
I mean, I know this is a slightly counterintuitive question, but like, was it so stimulating that and such a piercing of the order that it was a little bit disconcerting underneath the excitement?
Yeah, no, I was concerned that I stole money.
Hmm.
I was concerned that I stole money. I was like, this is wrong.
That experience would make me excited, happy, scared, upset.
I mean,
like
I
a
hated
lot of
him so
different things.
much. I hated him so much. And after he passed away, the amount of money that we didn't know about that he had invested. So he invested a ton of money in the stock market, like IBM, Apple, Microsoft, all of these different companies. And we didn't know about so much of it. Like we lived on a very small amount of money for most of my life. I mean, we weren't uncomfortable. Like we were comfortable. But like we didn't go on
But he
vacations.
had deeply
we went to,
irrationally rationed all of it.
of course, yeah. And
Yeah.
so after that, after he passed away and I learned this, I felt zero guilt about taking that money.
Well, and I mean, also lock your safe, right?
Yeah.
Don't
dumbass.
keep stuff in an open safe. What are you doing?
Yeah.
If I leave stuff in my car and I leave that unlocked, I'm not going to be too surprised. I can't be too surprised if
No.
it walks away sometime.
Yeah. I also looked at his Playboys. That was lovely.
What about those Wall Street journals?
It was not
diving in there.
I was not diving in
You're
there.
like, look at these black and white pictures. They're drawn, like etched in there, like
Oh my
really
God.
fancy.
Or the Barron's newspaper, which is literally just stock prices.
I have only ever heard the word Barons from the commercials in the 80s for Barons. So that's like so bizarre to hear that it existed
Oh yeah.
in material reality.
It still exists online. Yeah. Anyway, so like, yeah, he was a giant dick jacket.
That's painful. I mean, I'm not saying it is for you necessarily or anyone. I'm experiencing pain. I feel the emotions that I associate with experiencing a family kind of coming apart and parental figures that I don't respect, and then the eerie things that my family kept in the basement.
Yeah.
Like it's an uncomfortable aspect of my father. He had written eerie religious texts that he was embarrassed about. And it's just unpleasant to think about the abusive emotions that are kind of wrapped up in those things, and that everybody just wants to be Ward and June Cleaver and pretend are not happening in a suburban family.
Oh, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, and I have zero guilt in speaking ill of the dead. He was a shitty person. I mean, even so much so as like my grandmother tells me the first time she met him, he was, and this isn't like a bad story, it's like funny, she tells it funny, but it seems weird. Like she met him at a party. She was at a party. She had gone to this party with her friend. She didn't want to go, but she went to this party with her friend and she wasn't having a very good time. And then she heard a voice from behind the bathroom door being like, I'm locked in. I guess he got locked in. Like the door wasn't working. The doorknob wasn't working. And so they figured out a way to get him out eventually. And he got out, and that's how they met. And she had just gotten broken up with from her boyfriend, who she really loved. And, she started talking to him, and I guess he was charismatic enough. And his buddy, Howie, had a car, and they both offered to drive her and her friend home. And they were like in the Bronx. They lived in the Bronx, and I think they were in like Manhattan or something for the party. And on the way home, he had my grandma sit on his lap. And at the end of the drive, he said, I'm going to marry you. And to me, that's creepy. Like, she tells it as a funny story.
Right.
In my brain, that's creepy. He was 8 years older than her. So he was probably 27 and she was 19. And then he proceeded to become really good friends with her mom and would come over all the time. And she didn't really like him that much, but she put up with him because her mom liked him. And her mom put out a cot for him so he could sleep over.
Whoa.
It was just weird. Like, my grandma tells these stories about this, and I'm like, Grandma, this is weird.
I think the hard part for me about hearing that story and about hearing her put out the cot is reflecting that for most of history, as a man, you could probably make agreements with someone's family to marry someone and circumvent the person's agency by doing that. And that's a little bit of what I'm hearing. Am I hearing that right?
I mean, yeah, basically. Yeah.
I mean,
my grandmother didn't not agree to it, but she didn't fully agree to it.
Yeah.
She was also heartbroken. I mean, she really loved her ex-boyfriend, Seymour, and Seymour had called multiple times to the house. And my grandmother's mom told Seymour to give her 6 months.
That's painful.
So painful. And my grandma,
the concept of women was much more narrow in your grandmother's time, right? Yeah. To put it mildly.
Right. Yeah. She didn't have any agency over this. And it was, so her mother told her the night that she was getting married, the night before she was getting married, she was like, you don't have to marry him if you don't want to.
What? A little late.
The night before?
A little late.
Yeah.
Like, dear. That's not going to be something that gets thrown back in her face.
Right. And then it wasn't until years after they were married that she told him about the Seymour thing and about how Seymour had called and wanted to be with her. Crazy shit.
Also, at that point, keep that to yourself, right? That only does damage.
Right.
But
who are you telling? She's only absolving herself of the guilt.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to go back because I really want to spend more time with you sharing, Adrian. I don't know if that's what you'd like to do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, piggybacking off of Lauren's story, that reminded me of my grandfather, who actually did not know, and there was good reason for that. My dad didn't talk about him, nor did my aunts talk about him. Like, nobody in my family ever talked about him. My grandmother never talked about him.
Nobody talked about your
my
grandfather?
Grandfather,
okay,
yeah. This is my dad's real dad, because I grew up with a step grandfather. Like, since I was born, I've known him to be my grandfather.
Okay.
And he was from Mexico, so my grandparents relocated to Mexico, and that's where I spent a lot of my time growing up. But I had a grandfather, my Puerto Rican grandfather, who was from New York and lived in New York and was based there. But apparently, as I've gotten older, they've shared more and more with me about his history. He passed away probably like well over 15 years ago, I want to say.
Okay.
But yeah, he was like this notorious drug dealer in Spanish Harlem.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he never went anywhere without a gun on him. I've heard stories from people close to him that he was definitely always willing to pull them out on people and did a lot of really awful things to people.
So he probably murdered quite a few people.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But he used to like throw like neighborhood parties and like fund them, like buy everybody food and buy everybody drinks, to basically get them on his side. But yeah, he, I guess, did this for a number of years, and my grandmother left New York to the West Coast, which is how she had ended up out here, was to get away from him. And he ended up tracking her down there.
Oof.
And they got back together and had my two aunts together. And then that was when my grandmother met my step-grandfather. And basically my grandfather went back to New York. Did
your step-grandfather have a bigger gun?
Well, what's interesting is that my step-grandfather, my grandfather, and my grandmother all lived together under the same roof.
Ooh, throuple.
Yeah. And
lived together in peace?
I don't know. But my step-grandfather, my real grandfather, worked in the same kitchen as chefs. And my step-grandfather was using my grandfather's social security number, I believe, because he was over here from Mexico. And it wasn't a citizen. But yeah, so basically that is how that story had transpired.
Wow.
And why they never talked about my real grandfather. Also, I had heard this from my aunt, that when my grandfather came back, like some other time, he had mentioned to my aunt, who was very young at the time, he said something along the lines of, whatever your mom has said about me, it's all true. It was like everything that she's ever said about me. I don't know what she said about me, but it's all true.
Whoa.
But yeah, it was just a very dark thing to say.
What's the big picture on how it fits in with your family? I guess part of my reason for asking is because you've said that your parents and some of the situations you grew up in were violent.
Yeah.
That have made me wonder, wouldn't they be a little more comfortable, maybe even reverent, of a high-performing gangster of some kind? And so why do you think they suppressed the information? Was it too much like what they were? Or how do you understand it all?
Yeah, well, I mean, it totally makes sense with my dad. Like he was selling cocaine before I was born. And this was something that I found out like 10 years ago. Was what yeah.
I mean,
so he was
late
hiding
70s and 80s was a good time for cocaine.
Yeah.
So he was hiding his past.
Yeah.
So hiding his father was a part of hiding his own past.
Exactly. Yeah. Even though he didn't technically grow up with his real dad, he still took on a lot of those traits.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting that you also formed a gang.
Oh, that I made my
Kinda,
way to that world. Yeah.
Made your way to that world as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, it was kind of like all the elements came together to create that environment in my household, which directed me toward that environment,
Is your feeling that despite having tried to hide it, they only made access to it all too real and all too, like, just whatever effort they put into hiding it was rather in vain because it was very close?
Exactly. Yeah. Because regardless, it's going to manifest itself, unless you've like done some intense work, which was taboo back then. And also they probably didn't have access to it, like therapy. They're bound to repeat what was repeated before.
Yeah.
I think it's weird with kids because you're like, there's an age where you're like, oh, you're legitimately too young to process this or understand, like, or care about these stories. And then it kind of feels like it becomes this norm to like keep this information away or keep it locked away. Like, we don't talk about this. And then that kind of holds on, I think, even when the kid gets older. And you're just kind of in that mentality of like, oh, we don't talk about this, even though the reason that you didn't talk about that isn't around anymore. And that kind of stuff is fascinating. Like talking about family drama of further up the tree, that kind of stuff is sort of fascinating. And those are the stories that kind of get passed down, I feel like, more than, I don't know, maybe more than other stories do.
Like the negative stories get passed down as opposed to the positive stories?
Yeah, I think, well, it feels like there's this mentality. It's like, oh, we can't talk about this yet because the kid is too impressionable or too young or whatever. But then there's never a stage where you go, all right, you've reached a stage. Now we're going to tell you like all these crazy things about our family that you would find absolutely fascinating. But ultimately what you do, you end up learning them piece by piece by like back channel weird like gossip stuff or family stuff where it's like, oh, these are the family secrets. I'm like, why? They don't... The people who would care that these are secrets anymore are not around. Like they don't, they're not around. So
yeah,
but it's just an odd, there's lots of secrecy in my family too. Same thing. It's like, it's just like, you know, you learn about these things later and you're like, what? I never had those pieces.
There's so many small little secret things that I've learned most recently from my grandmother that like, she never told me before. Yeah. What are you thinking, Ari? You look like you're thinking.
When I have a client, I am very careful about narrative understanding.
What's narrative understanding?
So in the sense that there can be an unwillingness to dive into content or emotions that is present for a client, but there can also be a danger in attributing an extensive amount of meaning to family. I can really feel concern looking out for people who are drawn into their family history, and it can become a vehicle for being pulled away from your own work.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, I had a really big realization when my dad and I went to Puerto Rico in 2020, right before the pandemic, for a race. The more that I learn about him and his history, the more I see like my dad is literally just this scared little boy that wants to be loved, you know? And in my dad, I see myself like I'm that scared little boy that just wants to be loved, you know? And it's just like interesting how history like continues to repeat itself over and over again from one generation to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but also it gives me a different perspective on my dad and allows me to hold less anger and more love for him by that understanding.
That's interesting. That's interesting that you said that you're, by seeing some of yourself in him, you forgive him of things.
Mm-hmm.
But it also is interesting when you say that you see so much of yourself in him, whereas like, I don't know, like, how much of you is actually there, or how much of it is you, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like you probably have done so much more work on your mental health. I don't know if I mean, and that's almost unfair to the amount of progress that you've had to say, I'm so much like him and I'm just a scared little boy too.
Well, I think it's more along the lines of like, I understand why he is the way he is.
Yeah.
You know, that because of what he's experienced, you know, from when he was born to where he is now, you know, he's just been looking for that love, you know, and looking for it in different women. And, you know, so it makes sense, you know, why the trajectory of his life, you know, it was that he was always looking for that.
The way that you're describing it, I don't mean this in a underwhelming way, because it's not that way.
Don't.
What? Huh?
You're always underwhelming. okay.
Oh, what a nice compliment.
It's okay. You could
Aw.
be underwhelming.
You're always underwhelming.
Wait, what are we?
No,
I was just trying to be. I was trying. Anyway, continue. I was trying to be a little dick.
Wow.
I was trying to be a dick jacket for a second.
Okay, I'll start over. I'll start over as if that didn't happen. It's fine. No, but when you share that, I don't mean this. I mean this in a good way, which is, I think that that's an all-purpose therapeutic progress marker. Right. Not so much about him, but to be prepared to see your father as a child is a mark of progress that is universal to any child. But that doesn't make it disposable. That's just good and beautiful and righteous.
Right.
Interesting.
It isn't unique to him. It isn't a particular insight, because I think it's just fair to say we all have an inner child.
Right.
We all, I mean, whether you like that term or not, we have an inner anxiety that drives us and a vulnerability.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think it's probably, there are some signs that come with progress. One of them can be feeling a happy kind of boredom with the old drama. And I think seeing parents as vulnerable is another sign of having reached a kind of parenting plateau yourself, because you're ready to extend a kind of parenting to even your own parents. That's certainly where I'm at with my mother, is I feel ready to be a bit of a parent to her. Not a lot, but
Yeah,
totally.
that's really interesting, because I viewed my mother as like a child from a very young age, like kind of a helpless child from a very young age. So, wonder what that says about me.
Were you comfortable with that, or was that disturbing?
It was disturbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if,
because she was basically a helpless child forever.
I mean, I wonder if the way that we're using the word child is a little bit different here, because when I've heard you talk about those experiences, it seems like your mother was also a tormented,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was very tormented. Yeah. Without going into too much detail. My mom is the type of person where she's passed away, but she would not be happy if I shared stuff about her life, so I'm not going to.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
To the world.
I'm
going to honor that.
When you talk about your mom, I can feel the love.
Yeah, I mean, she loved me. Like, unconditionally loved me. And I very conditionally loved her. It was difficult, I did love her. But our relationship was not healthy, and it was not stable, and it was extremely difficult the older I got, and the more I realized on a very cognizant level that by being around her, it would fuck with my emotional health.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the amount of distance that I kept myself from her increased as I got older. So until she got sick. And then when she got sick, I was with her a lot, and she had a lot of the stuff about who she was as a person had to change when she got sick. A lot of the habits that she had, I'll leave it at that, changed when she got sick, when she was in the hospital. And she then became kind of a different person who was very aware and very there. And when we had conversations, it was very much her speaking to me, not through any type of a filter anymore. And it was really lovely. And to say that I'm glad she got sick would be not the truth, but in that time, those 6 months, when
it was a precious experience.
It was a precious experience, because I got to speak to her unfiltered. For the first time in probably my whole life. My adult life, my whole adult life, it was the first time I got to speak to her as just her. And it was so wonderful. It's really unfortunate that she had to pass away.
Yeah.
But I also think that she was a type of person who was in a lot of emotional pain through her entire life, probably from even being a toddler. When she became self-aware, she was probably in a lot of emotional pain, and her passing away may not have been the worst thing for her. I don't know if she was made for this world. So, if there is another world, there is an afterlife. Hopefully she got reincarnated as a really adorable golden retriever. She would love that. She actually did say that sometimes. Yeah, just lay on the beach.
Yeah. Like
I wouldn't
just
mind
at peace.
being a golden retriever. That feels pretty high up on the list of possibilities, right?
That is a nice. That's like definitely you moved past the being a disgusting human.
Yeah.
You got to be
like a golden retriever in Hawaii. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she got to be a golden retriever in Hawaii. I think that would be her life. Like that would be her ultimate afterlife, is to be like a really loved.
She's like Rihanna's golden retriever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what she would love to be, some rich person's golden retriever. You'd love that. I hope that's what she was reincarnated as.
That's very sweet.
Yeah.
It is.
Thanks. I do have to go pee.
We can take a pee break.
Can we take a pee break?
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. Okay.
Pee break.
Recording this.
We are.
Well, but I wasn't in the mic.
Okay, so what happens is replay. What happens? You were
Okay, hold on.
All right. Break it down for us. Sorry.
Oldest story in the book. It's like boy meets girl. I was on Grindr and somebody, well, not on Grindr. I'm gonna start over because I wasn't on Grindr. But I say Grindr to be more universal.
Yeah.
I was on Scruff.
Yeah, which is Grindr with a pinky up. Continue.
Yeah, exactly. No, 1,000%. Oldest story in the world. I was on Scruff and I saw somebody I fucked years ago.
Oh my God. Oldest story in the world.
I was like, I fucked you. And he was like, Ari, you fucked me. It was great.
Yeah.
And I was like, come over. Let's do what we did before. He was like, I love that. And then he came over and we had great sex. Yeah. I had forgotten what a nice, he's one of those people, his brain waves are really quiet after sex.
Mm-hmm.
No, during too. I love when people are like, I'm having sex with you. I'm also going toward nirvana.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love when people understand that.
Yeah. That's actually, I think that's one of the reasons why the person who I'm dating right now, we're just like, when we're having sex, we're having sex. There's nothing else in the world that's happening. And it's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Like it just feels like we're in a bubble, you know?
Yeah.
Even like pre, during, and post just feels like we're in this nice little bubble.
Oh, that's
Nothing
heavenly.
else exists. Yeah.
I
love it.
And I'm married.
With a child, so it's worse.
Yeah.
With a child, so it's worse.
No, it is very nice to be awash in all the young love, and by that I mean recent, like just blossoming love romances.
So what you're saying is it's only gonna get worse. Thank you,
I'm not
Scott.
saying that at all. I'm
downhill from here.
Guys, Scott just got 2 cats. He's fine.
I'm fine. We have cats.
So he came over. You guys had sex. It was great. It was Nirvana. It was. Are you guys gonna have sex again? Probably. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet.
I'm sure we will.
That's great.
I mean, I pace things a little bit slow. Like I feel like I gotta, I don't know, like make some drip coffee. Like, you know, breed kombucha.
Mm-hmm.
Lately I don't think about the next time I'll have sex. It'll happen eventually.
I mean, it seems like it happens fairly often for you. So without you really having to try much.
What's fairly often to you?
Once a week.
I think I do, but not always.
You are getting it.
I mean, you don't live with somebody who's literally wakes up next to you with like a boner. So yeah, once a week is pretty often.
My sweetie pie came by the other day, my old flame, and he slept over, and I had to like punch him in the face like twice.
Wait, your ex-boyfriend?
No.
Why?
Oh, okay.
Because he was snoring.
Oh,
I was like, honey, wake up. You're tormenting my eternal soul. I need you to try rolling over. And if it doesn't work, I'll kill you with a pillow. I fucking hate snoring.
It's tough.
Are any of you cuddlers?
I am not the biggest cuddler.
Yeah.
I do like cuddling before I go to sleep. And then I like cuddling once I've woken up in the morning.
Yeah.
But during sleeping, I'm not a big cuddler. And the person who I'm dating right now is. And I
They would prefer to fall asleep spooning.
Yeah, and I have to disappoint her like on the regular.
Do you like to, because I always think these terms scream for definition. Do you mean by cuddling the activity of watching a movie and cuddling, or do you mean falling asleep?
Oh yeah, I
spooning?
love cuddling anytime that I'm
talking
not
to
trying to
Adrian.
sleep.
I'm talking to Adrian.
I was trying to Jesus, continue, Adrian.
Yeah, falling asleep, cuddling.
The full
Do you
full
like
body
that?
heat absorption.
I mean, I don't prefer
you don't?
it. Yeah, like I love cuddling during a movie, but like
I think most
going to
people don't
sleep-
like full spoon falling asleep.
Yeah.
I think that's actually less popular. All pity reserved for those poor souls who love it, because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think mostly they're rejected.
It's like, this is my side, that's your side.
Yeah, get
Cool, we'll reconvene in the morning.
Yeah, like feet touching every once in a while
Yeah.
under the covers. That's wonderful. Butts touching when you're both facing the other way. Love it. Yeah.
I adore you. Get away from me and close your nose with a fucking clothing pin.
Yeah.
You fucking wombat.
Yeah.
You know, a relationship, love.
Yeah, the girl who I'm dating right now, she snores. And so I've started wearing earplugs.
I was gonna say they make earplugs.
Yep.
This passive solution.
No. I just shoot glue up their nose while they're asleep, and if they die, it's a wash.
I wish that worked. Yeah.
Oh, it works.
I feel like I lucked out because one, she doesn't snore.
Oh, here we go.
Two, she likes the cuddle preferences are on point. Like
Nice.
We do the cuddle thing, go to bed, and that's her side. This is my side. We'll reconvene in the morning, and chef's kiss.
Love
How long
it.
have you been going out?
What's that?
How long have you been going out?
Almost 3 months now. Yeah,
Awesome.
time is just like zip by like that. She's gonna
Ooh.
meet my family for the first time on Sunday. She's a friend of the pod. She listens to the pod. Shout out. I don't know if she wants me to say her name.
Yeah,
so I
don't
won't
say her name. Yeah.
No, she's
Shout out
to lovely lady.
Shout out to Adrian's boo thing.
She doesn't listen to podcasts, so the fact that she took the time to listen to 2 of our episodes is a big deal.
We're getting people one at a time.
Yeah. I think the woman who I'm dating, she's listened to a couple of episodes too, because she mentioned something that only I said on the episode. And I was like, did you listen? She's like, yeah. I was like, oh, fuck. Cool. Thanks.
My workout buddy that I have sex with enjoyed his shout out.
Nice.
Yeah, he liked the episode where I said I have a workout buddy I have sex with.
That's
Dope.
so dope.
I thought that was sweet. It's like
Yeah.
Bay
Super
Area
sweet.
culture.
Yeah.
And I would like to set it
He
straight
gave
for
me-
the. Okay, continue. Sorry, we're talking about you.
We're not, but I was just gonna say he gave me such a diagonal hug today. I don't think he likes hugs, though, is the reason. I don't think it's about me. But he gave me a very okay. But I do think he's never there for a hug, actually, so it's fine.
Interesting.
We have a stoic. We have. It's nice. Like, you come over, we lift weights. Oops, my dick's in your ass. Like,
How it typically works.
Yeah.
Well, I think every good piece of sex has some kind of plausible deniability. Like, oh no, why did this happen? It's just better that way.
Oh, that reminds earlier I think I've heard the term dick jacket now twice or more than that. Is that a thing that I missed on the definition on?
I coined that.
No,
Okay,
we were
yeah.
talking about dick jackets early on when we were talking about foreskins, and now I just keep bringing it up as a slight on people.
That's
I've just been
it's a fun
calling
one.
people a dick jacket. I love it.
Fully open source. You can say dick jacket
Dick skin.
when you go to the next dinner party.
Dick skin's too literal.
Dick skin feels weird, yeah. But
Yeah.
if you call someone a dick jacket, they don't really know. There's confusion with the insult, so it lands funny. I like
Right.
that.
It's kind of like saying cum bucket. You're like,
Okay.
like a cunt wad, Like, why?
Whoa,
No.
whoa,
Do it.
Whoa, whoa.
I'm a female.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Not the C word.
That was a chorus. That was beautiful in my ears.
That was like that Imogene Heap song, Where Are We?
We don't know what's going on.
Come,
You don't know, we've
jacket.
been getting together working on our barbershop.
I would like to set the record straight before we get off this topic that I very much like the person who I am dating right now. And it doesn't matter that she snores or likes to cuddle a lot because I find it endearing. I'm sure
Scott's
at some
laughing,
point
but you're dead serious.
No, I'm
I'm
dead serious.
You would let her
It
snore
actually-
your
That's
to
great.
a-
I just
it
laughed at the
actually
disclaimer.
makes me feel really loved that like in the middle of the night she'll try and cuddle with me. Even though I don't want it, it feels very much like, oh,
Mhm.
you want me still. Thank
Yeah.
you for reminding me that you still want me even in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Now go away. But
And
like
you
thank
sock
you.
her in the jaw while she's in deep REM. Get off me, I love you.
Basically.
No, I was just laughing at the realization where you're like, oh right, everything I'm saying is being recorded,
Yep,
so I
that
better
is exactly what happened.
I better go ahead and cover
Yep.
my bases to
Scott's
let you know.
and we
happily
just
married.
discussed how she
Scott's happily
sometimes
married.
listens
Yes,
to this.
exactly.
Yeah.
What a great filling sex life we all have, including Scott.
Thank you for including me. I appreciate that and will not comment on it.
Does your wife listen to the pod?
She hasn't listened to any of them actually.
When I was dating somebody for, I think we dated entirely for about 5 months. About 2 months in, she told me that I wanted sex too much and we would schedule it for once a month. And I was like, this is odd. I don't know how we kept dating for 5 months. I think I was
Once
fooling.
a month during the early months.
Yep.
Bye.
No, and then like I would, and then
Have a nice
I
day.
negotiated to once a week, and then I would just like, poke her in the vag every morning until she would until she conceded. But like, yeah,
Good morning.
in her mind, she only wanted to have sex. In her mind, her ideal was that we had sex once a month. And my ideal was that we had sex every day. So I think we met somewhere in the middle and then we ended up
Once
not.
a month is like, do I know you?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. It was crazy.
You're a trooper, Lauren, for hanging in there for.
Oh,
5
no.
months.
We had sex much more often than that because I would
okay.
wake up and be like, well, I'm ready. I mean, like, not like literally like, hey, I've got a hard on. But like
Yeah.
most mornings I wake up and I'm ready if I'm laying next to somebody who's basically naked.
Yeah.
Why not?
Right.
Every morning is a tall order.
I mean, it is a tall order.
Every morning. I mean,
Well, I
do
don't
like a good morning quickie, but every
Yeah.
morning, geez Louise. Sometimes I just wake up, I want to watch, Kindergarten Cop or something.
Yeah,
Leave me
well, that's
alone.
when you just do like quick, like, lazy handies,
I don't enjoy having like a time, like a deadline where like, oh, we have to get up and get going by a certain time. Like,
No, it's
I
a
don't like that
symptom of a
pressure.
problem. Yeah.
I'm much more of an evening romance sort of person, I think.
Oh, I misheard what you were saying. I thought you were about to say, I don't want a timeline on when we'll have sex next, but you were saying
No, I'm saying like in the morning, that's the problem for me with getting like romantic in the morning is you're like, I don't know, I'm like, I guess on weekends it's different, but if you're like, we
Well,
got to get up and do stuff.
for God's sake. I mean, you have a young child.
Yeah, you have a
that's
kid.
totally
That's
fair.
a little
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
It really did when the child, like, it became, there's no possibilities until after bedtime has happened. Like
Totally
here's the
fair.
window. But
My parents would always designate Saturday as their date night and then come home and shut the door, lock it, and turn on Celine Dion and the Lion King soundtrack. Lauren is heavily traumatized by
The circle of life.
yeah. And then he shoots.
So how does it work when, like, if you're like 10% of your brain is just worried that your child's gonna burn the house down while you're having sex? Like, what? How does that work? Like, can you get into the moment?
Well, sure. I think part of that is how you raise your child to feel like you're confident that they're not like going to go completely nuts when you're not there.
Yeah, you don't have a fire starter of a daughter.
I don't.
Okay.
So she's pretty chill. But yeah, there's definitely parts where I think that's why bedtime is a more common thing where it's like, everyone's in their spot. No, there are no moving pieces out and around. We don't have to think about anything else. It's great. It is kind of rude. I wonder at what point she's in the only bedroom that doesn't have a lock on the door. Our bedroom has a lock and the guest bedroom has a lock on the door, but hers doesn't. I wonder at what point that will become a topic of trying to get us to switch over to lock in her room, which at some point,
why would she want to
totally
lock
fine.
on her? You just think she might
Kids always do. I
Sure.
mean, eventually at some point, kids want to lock on their door.
Yeah. And when I was a kid, I didn't
I
have
guess
locks on
that's
my doors, but my
true.
parents did. And I was always like, that's so cool. You can just lock your door.
I guess that is true.
Yeah, I always had a lock on my door, and I was always allowed to lock it, so it wasn't exciting for me.
I grew up with this very tech savvy friend who was like coding when he was little, and he had a whole rig where a motion sensor would be tripped by his mother jostling his bedroom door, and as soon as she opened his bedroom door to check on him staying up at 3 a.m., all of the lights and the monitor would go out, making his room completely pitch black as soon as she touched the door. And he would be sitting on his computer chair in the dark with the computer the only thing also on until she left and closed the door again, thinking that he was asleep, and then he would turn it all back on
This
again.
motherfucker's a billionaire right now, right?
That's a Ferris Bueller move. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it's very Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
That's
No,
pretty slick.
Yeah.
He learned his love of sitting quietly in the dark places watching people who didn't know he was there. It was absolutely no problems after that.
Can I ask you my question?
Please.
The question that I had was a little bit earnest. Is it weird? Is it just so weird hearing people talking about openly chaotic families where people gave guff to their parents? Like, sometimes I wonder when you're listening to it, the way you've described your family, if it sounds so far away from how a family is.
It does sound very alien. Like a lot of times it's like, oh, this is like a TV or a TV show or a movie situation, which I think probably the reverse sounds probably true as well. Sometimes where you're like, oh, you seemed like your growing up was a TV show or whatever.
Like you had a Leave It to Beaver show, and we
right.
had Married with Children.
Very possible. Yeah, but it is odd. And I wonder, I go through a lot of stuff where I'm like, as an adult, you're wondering how that formed you. The three people here who I really enjoy their personage as an adult, I'm like, oh, how did that form? Like, is that an important part of you? Are you going to be a different person if that was different? But then there's also the part of me that's, really sad for the younger person who had to go through that stuff. And I'm like, oh man, I get bummed out when like kids are in situations or anyone goes through when bad things, this is the most vanilla take, but I get bummed out when bad things happen to people. And so,
I mean,
I get it.
Well, I want to be clear, like, perhaps ironically, I don't actually assume that it felt good or secure the way that you grew up. I don't take that as an assumption.
Sure.
Nor the opposite about everybody here. I had moments of, not moments, I had long periods or long aspects of security in my family. There were large amounts of permissiveness and creative indulgence in my family, and also ways in which my family was really reliable alongside the ways that were disturbing. So I hope I don't sound like I'm making an assumption that you didn't have darker elements.
No.
It's just it's just interesting because I think sometimes just hearing about children allowed to act like adults from a young age and talk back to their parents can sound like, what the fuck?
It's very alien. Yeah. I mean, I didn't feel like I wasn't allowed to talk back to it was just, that wasn't how we communicated. It was just a different sort of thing. I didn't, when we were talking about cussing and saying curse words and stuff, I didn't, like, my parents didn't curse. So it wasn't a thing where they were cursing and telling me not to curse. It was just not a thing that we did.
Right.
And so like I got that through my friends or at other people's houses where I'm like, oh, I can say shit. Oh, that's so weird.
Don't say that. That's naughty.
I'll cut it out.
Naughty
Sorry.
boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I definitely have beef with how I grew up on the religious part and some of the stuff that happened. But I think that's all outside of like my parents' intention. I think that they were always really trying to do good stuff for us. So.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in a household where we just screamed at each other constantly. So, you know.
And there was probably a lot of stuff under the surface that we just didn't talk about because that was our family was like, we don't talk about unpleasant stuff. You know, we don't talk about politics. We don't do these things. And so there was probably a lot of stuff that was just forcefully put under where it would normally have bubbled up anyway. And that's not real or pleasant either. That's a different level of artificial and weird.
Do you ever remember a time when you were a kid where you thought, I really want to talk about this, but we don't do that, so I'm not going to?
I remember trying. No, not.
That's a good question.
I think the first time that kind of stuff popped up would be like sex talk when you're hitting puberty or whatever. And I remember sex talk being, well, first of all, masturbation was never talked about whatsoever. Still to this day, I don't think it's ever been talked about in our family.
Yeah, we never talked about masturbation.
You should talk about it now.
Right.
Can you call your dad and ask him about jerking off?
Hey, Dad.
Just check if he does it and then tell him you do it and describe how you do it.
But, well, and my sex talk came with like a religious, not a pamphlet, but like a little booklet called Survival Kit. And there were like a few of them and you worked your way through these workbooks that like,
oh, I need every detail.
Oh my God. Ari is fascinated and horrified at the same time.
I need every detail about a sex ed religious pamphlet called Survival Kit.
And I don't think my mom ever was involved in the sex talks, the few sex talks. I think my dad basically like, one was to check out what I knew or what I didn't know and to kind of like explain biological stuff. We had always talked about, you know, sort of sex is talked about in Christianity through like the whole Jesus thing, but not in any sort of adequate way.
Do you mean like they didn't have it and then Jesus came?
Yeah, basically that's we're basically like, you know, sex, the thing we're not talking about, that didn't happen
the
here.
thing that did not produce Jesus.
In my mind, the survival guide had a chapter, maybe like chapter 3, on what to do when your palm spontaneously combusts from Satan's touch after you stroke your penis for the first time. I mean, do you immediately submerge it in water? Does that not work like an oil fire so it gets worse? Do you have to use like a fire extinguisher?
If you graze a fellow student and she is female in the lunch line, kill yourself immediately.
I mean, it was definitely geared toward like, here's how the body parts work. Here's how a baby could be made, and as like diseases could happen. By the way, you can avoid all that if you just don't have sex, which would be what we would suggest.
This exactly follows. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's it.
Oh, this exactly follows the concept of not assuming what is beneath the surface in somebody's childhood, because I didn't have any sex education talk whatsoever. Nothing. Oh, nothing. And when my father finally decided to say something to me about it, when he was just talking to me after I had run away from home and not come home for 6 months, he was like, "Don't get AIDS." And that was his that was the sum total of his sex education conversation with me.
Well, that was good. I mean, it was like wrapped up in, I know you're gay. So that's nice. That was a very succinct way of saying, I accept that you're gay. Don't die.
But thank you.
You're gay, don't die.
Don't get AIDS. Yeah. It's not.
I know. My favorite
I still say it all the time to people.
One of my favorite memories with my grandmother was when I was 13 years old and she had the sex talk with me. And I feigned ignorance for like a good 2 hours. It was so fun. And because she asked me, she was like, "Do you know what sex is?" And I was like, "No, Grandma. Tell me all about it."
Oh, no.
She was convinced that I was either 12 or 13, and she was convinced that I didn't know what it was. And she explained all of it. And I was like, "Really? That's how it works? So why do people have sex? That's weird." And she was like, "Well, it feels good." And I was like, "What does it feel like, Grandma?"
Dear God in heaven.
Oh God, it was so. That That was my Oscar moment.
And then at the end, you were like,
hilarious.
"Gotcha, Grandma," and she was like, "Oh, you little scamp."
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I just gave her that one. I thought I let her think that
I went into full detail about fisting for over 45 minutes. You little rascal.
Well, what was interesting is that, like, I mean, like, it's pretty commonly known in our family that my grandmother didn't really like sex very much, and so, like,
Did she put that into her explanation?
yeah, she
He'll
did.
bear down on you like a horrible boar with his frightful hog. You'll need a taser if you want it to end. That's sex.
Yes. You're not far off. I mean, it was essentially like, this is something that, like, you can do with someone who you love, or that you just have to do with your husband.
Oh, no. Once you're kidnapped, I mean married, the first thing that happens.
You're not too far off.
Yeah. Poor grandma.
I mean, you know, it was such, I just love this conversation. I love when she tries to explain what an orgasm is and how it feels. It was so, she's like, oh,
I want to know what she
Yeah,
said.
right? What is that?
What did she say? It was something like, it's like something like your whole body is smiling, kind of a thing. Like you're just like, yeah, like
It's
you're
somewhere between a
it feels-
sneeze and dying, but it's in your ass.
she's not a gay boy.
It's like having an idea in your private parts.
The best idea.
But she was like, it's like when you get a chill, kind of thing.
Mm.
Yeah. It was great. I don't remember exactly what she said verbatim, but I
I
remember them
actually really
feelings
like that last one. It's like a cold wind blows and you get goosebumps, but it's nice. There's something disturbing and funny about that.
Yeah, I just remember the feeling that I had the entire time of the conversation. I was like, this is great. This is my favorite moment. At that moment, I was like, I am having so much fun.
Punked you, Gammy.
Yep. I never told her I punked her, though.
You're just like flipping through Barron's while she's talking. You're like, tell me more.
Oh, Intel went up. That's nice. Well, that's not when I learned about sex, but we can talk about that later. I mean, I learned about sex when I was in kindergarten, and my grandmother was a teacher. Goes back to my grandma again. She was a teacher at the elementary school
And she
that I went
fucked me.
Jesus Christ, Ari. So she was she taught the 3rd grade, and I was in kindergarten, and like after the kindergartners would get out early usually, and so like I would go into her classroom and just sit and wait for the end of her class, and at the end of the class,
waiting to fuck her.
Jesus Christ, Ari.
It's almost his birthday. You have to give it to him.
That's fair. My
You want me to
God.
stay after school, teach?
Shut.
16 minutes.
He's gonna be.
Okay, can you please stop it?
He's gonna be insufferable.
This is over now. This is over.
Gonna be.
Yeah.
Sorry. So then what Christian thing happened?
We're not Christian. She's Jewish. Anyway, so we got it. I would stay in the classroom, and then like a bunch of kids wouldn't leave right away because their parents weren't picking them up. So they'd hang out and play board games or whatever. And we were playing Boggle. I don't know if y'all remember Boggle. It's like a little like.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's a little cube where there's like 16 letters, and they would lay down, and you would make words with them, and whoever made the most words with it wins. Anyway, so I would watch them play Boggle, and I would try and play too. And one of them, it was like SEX was on there, and one of them was like, "Oh my God, SEX!" And I was like, "What is that?" And they're like, "You don't know what sex is?" And so I then got explained by 3rd graders what sex was when I was a kindergartner. It was so I knew what sex was since I was in kindergarten.
I'm trying so hard to resist making the worst jokes.
As long as it's not about my grandma, then that's fine. Anyway, that's when I learned what sex was.
Hot.
When did you all learn what masturbating was? Did you what was your story, Adrian?
I was like probably in middle school at the time, and my aunt was living with us with my mom and my brother. And she she's like 10 years older than I am. So she was at work. She had a computer, and this was around the time when the internet, was just around for a couple of years. And so I had like access to online porn, and I think it was during the summer, and nobody was home. And so I was butt naked, sitting in the computer chair.
Amazing.
Going to town.
Your little butt was sticking to the pleather.
Like lit several candles. You were like, it is time to commune.
And you got some like Marvin Gaye on the radio.
Right. Uh-huh.
And then she came home. She's like, I forgot my key. What?
She fucking comes home.
No.
Right. And the computer is like right next to the door, right next to the front door.
Oh my God.
I hear the door opening, and I'm like, oh shit. And I book it like butt naked. Running down the hall as she's coming into the bathroom.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Wait, so the porn is still left up on the screen, right?
At that moment, you have a bunch of different things you got to prioritize really fast.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out, what am I doing and what am I not doing, because it can't all get done at that.
Right.
She just came through the door and she's like, did you want any quiche, honey? And then there's just like a pile of clothes on a chair with like some porn open and running at full blast. What?
Leave me alone, Mom. I'm just checking my email naked.
That was the other option. You could have closed all the windows and just been like, oh, it was warm.
You know how I like to play solitaire.
She got
I peed my pants. So
oh my God. Devin from down the street was visiting. I just told him to leave, and he was like, I gotta see some porn, and he took off my clothes, and I was like, you're crazy. And I was like, oh my God, you idiot pervert.
This sounds like a story that happened to you, Ari.
No. Mom, this really cold person who is exactly my size knocked on our door, and they didn't have any clothes. So I thought the nice thing to do would just be to help them out.
Oh my God, you came home when I was donating clothes. Go away. Have you ever seen the cat check out porn on the internet? It's crazy, Mom. Go back to the grocery, okay? I have to take a shit and my clothes need to come off, like all of them, okay? Wow, way to come home while I have to be naked and take a poop.
I can't believe you sometimes, Mom.
Oh, Diana, I'm so sorry.
A well-meaning auntie.
Moment of the pod ever.
What's the...
I can't even remember how I got out of the bathroom naked.
Well, she probably left again, right?
Well, she probably knew that, she was just like, oh shit, he was looking at porn on my computer.
Wait, had you even started masturbating at that point, or were you just still perusing?
No, I think I was already in the act.
We have to wrap up though, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, happy birthday, Ari.
Happy birthday, Ari.
Fantastic milestone.
Thanks, babes.
One more trip around the sun. Good job. And we'll see everyone else next time.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to Can I Lay Down?
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.